Hi everyone, I'm Shazza Tar, board certified behavior analyst and founder of Autism Therapy and Training. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about enrolling your child into an autism center or putting your child into a specialized classroom. A lot of parents will sometimes be very nervous about that and feel that if I put them in an environment where other children are maybe not talking or not engaging in the right behaviors, that my child may actually pick up those behaviors as well. Now, that's a very common concern, and it's actually a concern for any child in any environment if you think about it, because children will often pick up behaviors that their parents don't want them to pick up in any classroom, whether they come back home swearing or doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And parents are always going to be working with their children to correct those behaviors. Now, when you enroll your child into an autism center, most often the concern is, will my child regress? Will my child pick up behaviors that other kids are doing? Maybe they're making, strange noises, or they're twirling around, or, rocking. Is my child going to do the same thing? Now, most often, if a child with autism is imitating their peers, we would consider that amazing, because most children with autism, especially in the beginning when, and depending on their level, they may not even notice their peers. They may not, observe others and copy them. So if that's a concern of yours, then that's actually great. That means they've got some imitative skills, and we could definitely work with that. And when we look at, behaviors that they're copying, some behaviors such as rocking or spinning around or whatever it may be that are more, self-stimulatory behaviors, those behaviors aren't really copied, because children that engage in those behaviors are often doing it because it feels good to them. If the child starts rocking, it gives their body this sensation, this good feeling inside, and that's why they actually do it. They don't do it because someone else is doing it. Now, if they start screaming, for example, and they're laughing, well, that might be a behavior that they're engaging in because, it gets them a reaction. So the most important thing to really understand is, what is the function of the behavior? Why do kids do what they do? They don't just copy things because they want to. There's usually a purpose behind it. They're either trying to get attention. So if your child is screaming and they're looking for attention from you, don't provide them attention, and guaranteed that behavior is going to go away very quickly. If the child is engaging in behaviors because it feels good internally, then we want to find a replacement behavior. We want to find a way to give them that same feeling, but in a more socially appropriate way. Now, some parents don't mind if their child rocks or flaps their hands because it feels good to them, and we shouldn't stop them from doing it. That's your choice. And you can, discuss that with your spouse. You can discuss that with your team to see what the best solution is for you. If the child is trying to escape a task and they engage in those kinds of behaviors, well, then you don't let them escape the task and you follow through with the task. Most often, behaviors happen because they come into contact with reinforcement. So if I scream, and then I don't have to do the work, and let's say my parents take away the demands, or the teacher takes away the demands, then I know that screaming is going to allow me to escape that task. So next time I'll scream. So they've contacted reinforcement. If the child is, let's say, rocking because it feels good for them, then they're internally getting that reinforcement, and it's so hard to stop. Those are one of the hardest behaviors to stop, because you can stop them momentarily, and then you walk away, and then next thing you see is they're rocking again because nobody's around them. And it's very hard to be on top of someone 24/7 to try to stop those kinds of behaviors. So the best way to get rid of self-stimulatory behaviors is to replace it with something more appropriate. Now, sometimes children engage in self-stimulatory behaviors because they're bored. They need to be stimulated. So, another thing to think about is, are you stimulating your learner? Are you doing the things to keep them busy? Are they playing? Are they, if they're watching TV and rocking away, then maybe that's not really keeping them busy. So those are things to think about. So when you're looking at problem behaviors or behaviors and you're worried that they're going to pick it up, again, the first question to ask yourself is, what is the function of the behavior? What is the purpose behind this behavior? And then, can I replace it, or can I, not attend to it anymore, or what should I do? So speak to your team about how to handle these kinds of behaviors. Speak to your behavior analyst on the team to ensure that you're getting the right strategies. And I think the number one thing that I can tell anybody is, don't panic. When you panic and you put stress on, whether it's yourself or your team or whatever, or even your child, we don't want there to be negative effects. We don't want the child to regress. Sometimes if we push too hard or we do things, too hard, then it's actually aversive to the learner. It's almost punishing to the learner. Remember, things happen when they come into contact with reinforcement. So if you do something and there's that reinforcement there, then that behavior is going to increase over time. It's a science. We know it. We see it. And if something is punishing, it's going to go down for just a little bit, but then it usually comes back. Punishment isn't as effective as reinforcement. So again, talk to your team about how to handle these behaviors, what to do, your concerns, and work with them. Try to really understand the behaviors. Again, sometimes you might enroll your child into a new autism center, a new classroom, and then after the first session you notice something. You're like, oh my goodness, they picked up this behavior. It's because of the kids in the classroom, or that's not always the case. Most often you're just noticing things and you're just really stressed out and worried. So I do recommend that you try to reduce that stress. Talk to your team about it, because that's what they're there for. They're there to help you reduce that stress, to help you. It is a journey. When you have a child that has a diagnosis, whether it's ADHD or autism or something else, it's usually a lifelong journey of trying to understand the behaviors, trying to understand the actual diagnosis, and working with the experts on the team to help you out. So if you have any questions, I do encourage you to reach out to your team, to talk to them and get a better understanding of both the diagnosis and the behaviors and the best practice.